Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. We're coming to you live from day 2 at CES in Las Vegas, Nevada. And joining me for this segment, we have Scott Likens. He's a Services and Emerging Technology Leader at PwC. We're going to discuss trends and benefits for the Metaverse and Web3, some of our favorite subjects here on Trade Talks. Scott, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Great to be here.
Let's talk about this emerging trends that you're seeing in the Metaverse today, because at CES, everybody's in the Metaverse hall. That really is where the traffic is going.
It is the buzz, right? The Metaverse is, everyone is talking about it. As far as emerging trends, this is actually something that's been around under different names for a long time, right? Virtual reality has been around for decades, to be honest. I think Metaverse has finally brought it together into something that is tangible and people understand, although it's still pretty complex underneath. For me, I think it's this convergence of simulated worlds, augmented worlds, AI, crypto and blockchain, like all of the Web3 technologies finally working together and a way for us humans to actually interface and interact in it. And I think that's happened over the past few years with everything emerging tech.
Yeah, it is interesting because we've had a couple of people in health tech on the show, right? And when they talk about, the VR glasses and how they're working in simulated environments to help treat people, I think it's becoming it'll be more mainstream so that the average consumer can start to understand it. So with that said, how will the Metaverse change how businesses interact with their customers and with their workforce?
Right, so as you mentioned, healthcare, every sector really has an opportunity. Let me first start with the workforce. Training. We now have the ability to train in a completely simulated environment. So instead of sending someone out to a dangerous place or a distant place or something that's highly precise like healthcare, we can put them in a simulation, like we've been doing with pilots for many years. We can put them in a simulation that's so precise that they can practice over and over. But if you think about every sector, we can start to apply training, even in our own business, soft skills. How do I interact with people? How do I have a difficult conversation? We can start to do that in a simulated world, which is much more comfortable. We actually did a study that showed people were more confident coming out of VR than classroom because they were completely safe. They could actually practice versus in a classroom you still have people around you. So virtual reality, I think, is giving us this simulated ability to train. That's a no-brainer for any sector. But then you think about how you can engage your customers in a global world. We now have the ability to engage anyone, anywhere with a simple device. The devices are becoming more reasonably priced, so more people can have them. So we can collaborate with our customers. We can create really an unbounded experience for our brands, for anything we want to reach out and engage our customers with. We just couldn't do that before on a 2D flat screen. It was Web 2.0 was useful, but very flat. The Metaverse brings just many more dimensions to that.
What challenges will CIOs, in this case we're talking about the information officer, right, not the investment officer, what will they face as it relates to Web3 and other emerging technologies in 2023?
I think one of the number one things is to figure out how to do this in a very trusted way from the beginning. These technologies are rapidly advancing. We know there's been lots of press around bad things happening. But for CIOs, how are we going to create privacy and identity for our workforce? How are we going to protect them? How are we going to protect our consumers, the data around it? If you think about this transformation of Web3, it's becoming very decentralized, which is good in some ways, but really tough to protect in other ways. So you think about cyber risk and regulation, we have to put really different standards in place. And I think that's what's happening now, which is great, but we have to rapidly keep up with how fast this technology is changing. We're seeing this pace happen, especially around Metaverse, crypto, AI. It's just much faster than it has been before. So I think that the risk is creating that trusted environment, being responsible from the beginning as enterprises so that our consumers know that they can use this technology in a trusted way.
What are some of the benefits that Web3 technologies such as virtual reality and Metaverse can offer for organizations more holistically?
So I think, I mentioned the training, the ability to engage the workforce in a very different way. The workforce is different. The workforce is changing. We were all thrown through this hybrid world. We now can take advantage of that. So I think immediately we can use that to engage our workforce and our consumers, of course, but our workforce to really build a culture in a different way, using the technology. Again, in a 2D world or a classroom world, it was different. With the ability of a simulated environment, leveraging things like AI, which is becoming more and more intelligent in the way it interacts with humans, we can engage our employees just in a very different, and they want that, right? The workforce is younger, they want a different way to engage with the enterprise, and that's, I think Web3 is giving us that.
How can businesses begin to prepare for the metaverse right now? Is it too late? Are you hearing with the customers and partners that you speak with? Are they in that process already?
I would say every one of our clients is asking about it. We're still in that educational phase. I'll date myself, but I saw Web 1.0 worked on the first browser. We saw Web 2.0. We're in that early stage of we have to educate, we have to demystify some of it. One of the things we're focused on is breaking it down to the simple components and saying these aren't all new things. We've just put them into a new way to interact. So education and getting an understanding of, is this a real thing? The answer is yes. We cannot ignore it anymore. So executives should understand it first. I think then start to engage their workforce in that different way. So can we dip our toe into collaborating in a virtual environment? And then we can maybe save some travel. We can do something good for the earth.
Right.
We can hit our ESG goals easier, right? So there's some really nice benefits of this new model, but we have to start. We can't ignore it. We can't look at all the bad things happening and say, oh, it's not for us. You're seeing it if you walk around CES. The tentacles are everywhere. Web3 technologies are in every booth here. So let's embrace it. Let's educate and let's go after an experiment. That's my simple way to go after it.
All right, Scott, appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks, and thanks for joining me at CES. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.